guys,
Cool.
welcome back to the show. Once again, I have a really special guest with me today. You might know her from her summit called the Be Fearless Summit, and you might know her from a podcast called Dare to Be Fearless, which is formerly known as The New Unfiltered. This is Alexa Curtis. Hi, Alexa. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it was my pleasure. So please introduce yourself.
Well, just some basic background on me. I am a former Disney host, and now I run a career development company called Be Fearless. I talk a lot to young people about how to get out of their comfort zone and lead their most fearless lives. And I have a podcast as well that is formerly called The New Unfiltered and is now called Dare to Be Fearless.
That's awesome. I am so inspired by your story. Honestly, I have been following you long before I even did interviews, and I think you're just such a big inspiration for like all the young people out there.
Thank you so much. Well, kudos to you for having a podcast. I know it's a lot of work, so.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I think that work is really definitely worth the time and effort it takes, but it's very rewarding, honestly.
It is. And, if you're putting out stuff because you want to help people and you want to inspire them, then you are doing so much better than most of the people in this world who are not sure what they want to do and don't make an impact. So just remember that.
Thank you. So I know you started a blog when you were 12. So how do you think that has kind of like affected you at this point in life?
Well, definitely I'm very glad that I started it, because otherwise I would not be where I am today. But the reason I had originally started the blog is because I was dealing with a lot of mental health problems and being bullied and really not knowing what I wanted to do for a career. And so that's really what stemmed the blog for me. And at the time, it gave me an outlet to be able to connect with other young people who were also feeling insecure, also feeling bullied. And so, over the years, I was able to build it out into this lifestyle platform. And now it's my full-time job, and it's very cool. Not every day is easy, I'll tell you that, but it's very fun and it's very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like just having that, even if it's because you wanted it to be an outlet, like now look where you are. Like you have like this huge platform where you're inspiring young minds, and then you're also interviewing entrepreneurs. And I think it's really awesome and really cool what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
So, what is a mantra you deeply believe in and why?
Well, a mantra I definitely believe in on the most basic form is obviously being fearless. But something that I have really worked on more recently is and I don't know if it's really a mantra or more just a spiritual kind of belief, but is really give yourself space to build something. In this day and age, and especially in the platform that I've built, I have been working and hustling since I was honestly 12. Like it is part of my DNA to be an entrepreneur and to have that mindset and mentality. But now that I'm 26, I've really realized that there's a lot of benefit in working hard and having that hustle mentality, but also just kind of relaxing, feeling like you can work 3 hours a day if you want to. You don't have to work 13 hours a day. And so the minute that I really got older and realized that has made building something and having a career even more fun, because I'm really living as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great belief to have, honestly, right? Because especially in this world where like it's so chaotic, right? The media industry, especially like you have a podcasts are automatically part of the media industry, and it's just so like fast paced. Like there's literally no time to breathe, and just having that like sense of realization that you don't have to do so much, you can do a little bit, and if you're liking it and loving it, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
So I noticed that you were calling yourself an entrepreneur, and I do remember you had a conversation about this earlier about, influencers versus entrepreneurs. So do you think your life would be appearing more differently in the media if you classified yourself as an influencer versus an entrepreneur?
Do I think it would, do I think I would be Different? What do you mean?
So kind of like, I do remember you had this conversation on, I think it was an other episode, or it was something, I do remember hearing you talk about this, but we have influencers, right? You know, the ones who are trying to influence people. And then we have an entrepreneur, which is what you are. But do you think, like, what my question is, like, do you think that if you were to not call yourself an entrepreneur and would rather call yourself an influencer, would that change things for you, or would that still be the same?
I would say that's a really interesting question. I would probably say that most people think I am an influencer. And so I have really had to actively work to say I'm not an influencer, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a content creator. You know, I own a business, but I create content, but that's not really the bulk of what I like to view myself as. And so I think it's kind of the opposite. Unfortunately, because I have this platform that I built, most people do view me as an influencer. So I have to work, I think, a bit harder to really, you know, sometimes prove to people like I don't just wake up and get paid to post on the internet like a lot of more traditional influencers do, if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not to, like, you know, of course, influencers do work hard for what they do, but I personally do believe, sorry, influencers, if you're listening to this is just my opinion again, that, you know, influencers, they kind of, I'm not saying have it easy or anything, but they really are just putting out content someone else is telling them to. It's not by their own will most of the time, right? It's like they want the money, they want, like, you know, they have built this empire, and so they're just feeding into it, putting as many posts as they can, reels they can. But at the end of the day, what are they really achieving, right? Most of them aren't, like, either they're happy with what they're doing, but they're not feeling fulfilled, or vice versa. So, I mean, it's good what you're doing, though.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you said it on the head right there. And there's nothing against that kind of mentality, but I realize that I work really hard to I think, prove that that's not me, because I work so hard and because I'm really obsessed with the craft of entrepreneurship. If you took away this content side of things from me, I mean, to be honest, it would make my life a lot easier because I wouldn't have to think about posting every day. So that's not what I'm most interested in with this brand, with being fearless. I mean, it's the one-on-one conversations like this. It's the in-person events. It's writing my newsletter. I mean, the day-to-day creating content and posting and coming up with videos. Yeah, sure. It's, you know, it's part of the job. That's all it is to me, is it's part of the job. It doesn't mean in any capacity it's my favorite part of the job or something that I love to do every day. It's just part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of good to have that differentiation between what you like and don't like, or even not necessarily don't like. Like, it's more of like a part, like as you just said, like it's part of your job. You're not really feeding into it much. You're making good content and things, but that's not because you love doing it. It's because you want it to be good, so that people, you know, because it's a business, right? You want people to be part of this. You know, you want people to be part of the summit and learn about things. And by doing social media, you're amplifying that, or because influencing almost gives that taste that you're better than others and that you are influencing them to make a certain decision.
You know, that's a funny thing you say, because I was out with I cold emailed a company in the UK that I really like, and I went out with the founder for coffee to kind of understand the company, and then we ended up going out, you know, more on a casual friends type of format following that meeting. And he said to me, it was actually last night, he said to me, you know, I really expected you to show up and just be kind of standoffish, and I wasn't going to know how to talk to you. And he was like, I could not believe how wrong I was about you. And this is coming from, you know, one email that I sent this guy and him having only looked me up online. And so it's this fascinating thing that when you allow yourself to post on the internet, or you create or have any type of public presence, right, you of course enable yourself to be heavily judged and for people to make particular thoughts about you before you're even able to say your side of the story. And so it's just a reality check when you remember that kind of thing or have the experience like I did last night.
For sure. I mean, I think like this is just a very daily occurrence, right? In the media industry, everything kind of just is blown out of perspectives. It's like a tiny issue as simple as, like, I don't know, dropping I don't know, I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head, but just like making a tiny mistake, and then out of nowhere people start making it such a big massive deal, like, oh my god, you broke a rule, you are cancelled. Which brings me on to my next point, really. But I want to understand, like, what are your thoughts on this whole cancel culture and all of that that surrounds, because I feel like cancel culture is just horrendous.
My thoughts on cancel culture, after having just gone through it myself, but even prior to that, are I don't have good thoughts about cancel culture. I mean, I think it's a sad day and age we're living in. I think the moral of the story and what I learned is we live in a day and age where, because of social media, it is unethical and borderline illegal to society to make any mistake. I think there's different variations and varieties of mistakes, and some people should not be allowed to come back from that mistake. But there's also just mistakes, right? Screw ups, errors, words that were used wrong. And it's sad to me that this generation, myself included, have to be so cautious about every single thing they do, because there can be such severe repercussions based on something that maybe initially was meant to be very harmless.
I mean, yeah, like, I feel like this kind of instills fear in young people, like, even like people who are not on social media too much. Like, you have to be really careful, as you said earlier, like, be cautious what you post. Even if it's as simple as like a post about like you going to a concert, it would be like, does this, like, you kind of have to think about the background of the person going to the concert to. Does this person have a backstory that I don't know? Because, like, I feel like there's this thing on social media where, like, if you're posting about someone and they're associated with something quote unquote bad or evil or something, you're kind of like supporting them. I don't know if you've heard of this mentality. Or
what people really like to call this kind of form of a mentality is this mob mentality. And I mean, I really experienced and saw it firsthand. And again, I go back to this place we are in a society where, because you see so much content every day, because the news is telling you one thing and people are saying another, that our ability and self-awareness is really, in a way, lost. We're raising this generation, right? You know, the kids before me, people who are your age, to have so much information and so many decisions to be made, but there's no roadmap to like how to get from point A to point B. You're just, in a way, shoved all of this information, all of the social media, all of the news, and then you on your own have to go through middle school, go through high school, go through college, and just figure it out. And it's hard enough I'm 26, doing it on my own at 26, let alone if you were 12, 13, 14 right now. When I was growing up, we didn't have this amount of information. It was there, but it wasn't as common. And so, yeah, I mean, what people do say is it's this mob mentality, because people don't really at this point know how to make their own decisions.
I 100% agree with you. I'm 16, and like, I've seen so many articles about, like, you know, people just being blindsided just by everything out there. And the problem even now is just that there's just so much online that you can't really, like, if you search up like whatever you want, illegal, legal, whatever, like, you can find every answer online. It may not be right, may be wrong. It doesn't even matter to people anymore. It's just there, and then people are using it, and then kind of like have this two-fronted war with themselves, because it's like, for example, let's just say, I think there's something going on with the D'Amelio family, where I think one of them posted something, quote unquote, again, bad or something, and they were on the verge of getting canceled too. And so then there was like a whole like war going on in the comment section, going like, oh, they did nothing wrong. And then there was a whole section getting mad at them, and it was like a whole like battle going on. I was like thinking that, you know, it's just, you don't even know these people. And like, that's the thing though, right? That's the main point I'm trying to make. Like, we do not even know these people that we're attacking or talking poorly about, yet we kind of just, because like every single word matters. It may not matter to you because you're delivering that harshness towards them, but the person facing it knows how difficult it is to go through each day knowing that someone is going to say something bad about them.
Of course. And I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure or understand too much about that particular family. I mean, to be honest, I don't really follow them, but I've seen it in countless other scenarios with other celebrities or people in the public eye. And I think what's so funny is, and again, I go back to because of social media and because of the fact that we've enabled people to have platforms for quote unquote doing very little, right? And the way that you would look at a Michelle or Barack Obama or Mindy Kaling, and then you would look at someone who posted videos on TikTok and blew up, you're looking at two totally different types of people. The first set of people being self-made, hardworking for years, years of rejection to get to where they were. And then you're looking at another area of people where it was unexpected. There was very little work involved. And now they've been able to surpass the years in between building something to get it so fast. But the common bond between both of this Barack Obama and the TikToker is they're still human beings. They're still going to die. They still have minds and opinions. And because of that, they're still human, right? So you can't expect anyone, self-made or not self-made, to be able to constantly show up and constantly be right, because there's no difference between myself and you or you and that other person. To know everything. You possibly can't. But the difference between perhaps myself and, someone who is not online is that I have a platform. Therefore, I am expected to be, number one, extra cautious, number two, extra aware, and number three, have more insight. And quite frankly, that is not true because I can't know everything more than anyone else, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think just that, thinking that just because you have a platform, even as you mentioned, Barack Obama, right? I'm sure even he does not know every single thing, even though he's all the way up there. And which is it's again part of life. I don't think anyone really truly knows everything. Probably not even half the things about themselves. Like we think that we know ourselves the best. Like that's what the saying goes, you know yourself the best kind of thing. But I don't think anyone really truly knows themselves the best, no matter how old they are.
Exactly. It's all a learning process. You have to go through certain experiences to learn different things.
For sure. I mean, especially with young people, right? They're easily influenced by people, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or influencer. But with influencers, right, as you mentioned earlier, right, we see TikTok is getting very popular. I know there was a time when they were banning it. I'm not sure whether that's happening still or not, but TikTok, Instagram, and all those places where it's a term of going viral, it's all algorithmic based, which means that even the silliest of videos, it could literally just be a person playing with their pet, just simple playing, nothing added, and it'll go viral versus someone putting the time and effort to make an actual thing. For example, I've been singing and songwriting, putting up stuff. None of it goes viral. Why? Because probably I have less followers, but also it just doesn't compare to dogs or cats, right? So I think that just that part essentially kind of decreases the amount of effort or work that young people are trying to put into their craft, because it's even if I do this and post it online, or if I were to post it online, nothing is going to come of it because everyone is busy watching the viral TikTokers or the viral Instagram influencers who are literally just talking about makeup or doing get ready with me.
Exactly. Spot on.
So my last and final question, this is more of an advice thing. What's the advice for teens and just young people everywhere?
Oh gosh, my advice for young people everywhere. I don't want to say something cliche. So I have a few pieces of advice actually I would leave with you. I would say not to tell too many people your ideas. If you're someone who feels like they're an outside of the box thinker, or you want to do something a bit different with your life, you don't have to get approval to do that from everyone. You don't have to tell your parents. You can make small things, a blog like I did, or a podcast like you have, and slowly build your own community from there. And then the second thing that I would say is a lot of hard work and success takes a lot of time. And so if you are constantly feeling frustrated that you're not getting far enough, there will be a day in your life where the paths will cross. You will have worked very hard and made X amount of money or gotten the dream job. And you just need to remember that until that moment, you just keep working and ignore all of the outside noise.
Honestly, this is like great advice. I think it's very unique too, because I don't think I've ever heard of this, like, the factor of not getting approval. I mean, I think that this is definitely like, always been like something people tell you, but never really like actively like actually putting it out and saying that. Normally it's like work hard or just start. Like sometimes just starting is not even possible. It's tough to just start.
Exactly. Just start.
Like just start, kind of just like, okay, if I wanted to start, I would have a long time ago. Why would I be asking advice then?
Exactly. And look, you've taken the first step. You have done what 99% of people are too scared to do, which is just start. But it's in phases, right? Like I started the blog, then I had all of these things in between the blog to the Disney show, including a podcast, including brand partnerships and TV segments, and trying to understand how to pay my bills. And now I'm at a different stage in my career. And looking back, I wish I really had leaned into some of the moments that I didn't understand what was happening or why something was happening more. And the reason I say that is because I think those moments where I was so frustrated are where I was actually able to take a step back and learn something. But again, it's so hard to be like, let me just relax and not do anything when something's going wrong, because you want to get further. But those are actually the moments that are sometimes the best, to just stop everything, go outside, read a book, and reevaluate in, X period of time.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. I had a great time chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, everyone listening to this episode right now, I'll be linking Alexa's website. Be sure to support her podcast and check out her blog. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.